Great morning, great morning.
Good morning, good morning.
How's everybody doing? Let's get ready to get it. Hey, Teresa, what's up? How's everybody doing? It's a crazy morning this morning. We are exhausted, guys. It's been a long day. Real quick before a long day, right? It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's been a long day.
Already.
You already know it's going to be a crazy day when you wake up like that. But, guys, real quick, chime in. Let us know what city and what is the temperature in the city that you live in are you chiming in from this morning. What city and what is the temperature like in the city that you're in as you come in this morning? Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses.
Welcome. It's great to be here with you guys this morning. As Glenn said, we've had a long weekend already, and today is only Saturday. We made a road trip yesterday up to
Fairfax, Virginia.
Probably 3.5 hours up the road, and turned around and came right back. It was a little tired, but we good. We're glad to be here with you guys this morning. Good morning. Welcome, Tracy. Good morning.
What's up? Good to see you, Tracy. So, Teresa, what's the? We were up by your neck of the woods yesterday, Teresa.
Not quite.
Well, not quite. Fairfax is a lot closer to Purcellville than Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
That's what I say up near your neck of the woods. So we were up in that area. It's 73 degrees in Fredericksburg. Tracy, we rode right through your hood yesterday coming home. So it's great to see you.
Showing off our new mugs.
You are. Cherie just showing off our new mugs, guys. We got our brand new Breakfast with the Brookses mugs in. And so I just wanted to let you guys see. I love them. Thank you, Cherie.
They're available on our website.
If you guys want them, I don't know if I can get it. It doesn't hold it. I don't like the way. I wanted to be able to show it.
Hold it that way.
Yeah, but when I'm drinking it, you can't see it. You should be able to see it from around. You gonna get them to fix it, maybe? They don't do it that way.
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, listen, we trying to figure it out, guys. Let me adjust this table really quick, our desk real quick. Let it down a little bit. All right, here we go. So if you guys want to grab a new mug, just jump over to www.glennpbrooksjr.com. You can also pick up your live on purpose, love on purpose, laugh on purpose every day.
Every day.
That's
what I should have said. Every day.
That's what you should have said. People would have bought them right off. All my DC folks would have bought that right off the break.
Every
so,
day.
Cherie, we're going to talk about some things. Not going to go on Instagram this morning. We just got a lot happening. This is way too much. And so our Instagram people going to have to catch it on the back end. And hopefully they'll come over here. Very nice. You like that? Yep. The design is a little bit different. So also I got we all need some help hoodie on. And so that's
not available.
That's not available yet?
That's not available yet.
Just a little something special for me. Anyway, so let's get ready to go, guys. Listen, I want y'all to share this out as quickly as possible. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, maybe this is your first time on with us. We are the Brookses. My name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. We went back and forth for years. For a minute. Do we say Brooks? Breakfast with the Brooks or Breakfast with the Brookses? You know what I'm saying? Can you hand me my lip therapy, babe?
I'm trying to figure out what you're
I'm sorry.
So
anyway, I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a relationship coach, and I'm exhausted today. And this lovely light-skinned lady is
Sheri Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. And it's great to be with you guys this morning.
So, guys, really, if you struggle with forgiveness on any level, put a 1 in the chat. If you struggle with walking through forgiving people, put a 1 in the chat. We started a new
talk
last week, but I'm thinking about the MAPS Relationship Academy.
We
just started a new series in the MAPS Relationship Academy dealing with how you apologize and what that looks like. There are 5 languages of apology, and we're discovering that everyone has a language that they speak when it comes to saying I'm sorry, or when it comes to apologize. That looks very specific to most people, and unfortunately most people have no idea what their apology language is. And so we are walking through during the MAPS Relationship Academy, we're walking through our folks in all 5 of our communities there, what that looks like. If you want to be a part of the MAPS Relationship Academy and you want to kind of go through that journey with us, we would love to have you. Please join us at www.glennpbrooks.com. GlennPBrooksJr.com. GlennPBrooksJr.com. And click on free discovery session and sign up so that you can become a part of that community and you can get this work. It's your turn to talk.
I'm like, you just, I don't know where you're going.
I know, just it's okay. It's okay. We free flowing this morning.
But guys, yeah, we'd love to have you come and join us in the Mass Relationship Academy. We have groups in the academy. We have a couples group, we have a parents group, we have a singles group, and we have a men's and a women's group where we meet with individuals and deal with issues specifically in relation to the type of relationship that they're in. In our men's and women's group, those are more personal development groups, so it's not necessarily relationship driven, but just to help you become the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. So guys, real quick, if you struggle with that really quickly, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. So we got a string of 1s coming through. Why do you think, baby, people struggle with forgiveness and moving through that? And by the way, if you don't, I want you to put a 2 in the chat. If you don't struggle with that, I want you to put a 2 in the chat. Talk to me, Sheri.
Because it's hard when somebody hurts you to let that go, especially a lot of times when you don't, if they don't speak your language of forgiveness. And so they may just say they're sorry, but you may be the type of person that you need to see their actions change, or you may need restitution. You know, there are different things that you may need in order to be able to accept an apology. And also, oftentimes in a relationship, people repeat the same behavior over and over again. And it's hard to move past that. And I think a lot of times we want to hold people hostage, if we're honest. You know, if somebody does something to us, that whole an eye for an eye, or I'm going to get you back type mentality that oftentimes many of us have grown up in that.
Yep.
And so it's hard to be able to move past that and be able to let people go and realize, I mean, people make mistakes.
Yes.
You know, none of us are perfect.
No, and I think that one of the things that I agree with you, people not only do they make mistakes, but oftentimes we don't grow up being trained how to move through that. And so today I want to talk a little bit about some things that we started last week on what that looks like. There are 5 things that you need to know if you're going to work through forgiveness in a relationship. There are 5 ways in order to get there. And I want you guys to consider this. Last week we talked about, we're going to do a brief recap. And we said that number 1 is you need to think about the outcome that you want. In order to move through forgiveness, you have to really focus on what is it that you want? What is the outcome that you want? We talked a lot about the idea of, do you want your point
or do you want peace?
And a lot of times, if you are not careful, you'll lose sight of what you really want. And before you know it, you're in the weeds on some stuff that's just really crazy, trying to figure out what that looks like.
Right, you'll be so focused on having the last word that you forget that the whole idea is that, you know, maybe you're able to express a concern, or you're just trying to get them to understand something, but you'll be so dug in that it won't matter that they don't hear what it is that you're trying to say, because you're just so adamant about getting it out.
Right. And go ahead.
And it's not about the issue. It becomes about you just having to say what you have to say and it can wind up going into different areas. You're now talking about stuff that's not even related to the topic.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that, and this is where I need people to realize, there's a difference between when we get married or when we get in a relationship. Oftentimes we establish goals. What do we want out of this relationship? Right. And a lot of times the goals can get convoluted, and the goal should always be to cooperate and not to compete.
Right.
I want you guys to understand that the goal should be to cooperate with one another, not to compete with one another. How many times have people gotten arguments and it's, no, but you don't understand my point. No, but my thing is, no, but you don't. And so there's this competition, who's going to have the last word, what's that going to look like, and before you know it, you are harboring something that, quite frankly, you can't get past. I mean, to save your life, and I think that really looks like something.
Right, and I think if you stay focused on what the goal is, like I said, reminding yourself of what you want, where you're trying to go. If the goal is for you guys to have a healthy relationship, if the goal is for you guys to be able to communicate effectively, that's what you focus on instead of necessarily having the last word. And sometimes that's agreeing to disagree.
Absolutely. We do that all the time. Right. There are times that I'll come to the conversation with a point that I want to make, and you don't see it that way. You just flat out don't see it that way. And we've learned that it's more important for us to either A, disagree agreeably,
Right.
or B, agree to completely disagree and move on.
Right. Instead of saying stuck on something.
Because at that particular point, that just does not end well. So I appreciate you putting that in the chat, Teresa. Yeah, happy anniversary. I see Donnell is on.
Yes,
her and Terry
happy
celebrating.
anniversary.
How many years in a row has it been now, Donnell? Appreciate you guys for jumping on. For everybody who's on, do me a favor. If you can, share this out. Tag somebody. Click the link. Share it on your Facebook page. However you need to do that. Because I think that this is really, really important, particularly even in the climate that we're in now, with race relations being at an all-time high in terms of the tensions in the room. I know that happens in relationship all the time, where you are literally stuck on an issue and you can't move through it. Number two, and this talks a little bit about that. I want you guys to know that number two, and we're going through 5 things in case you're just jumping on, but you're going to have to learn how to drop the case, drop the matter. Put that in the chat. Drop the matter.
Right. And basically that means sometimes you have to realize that the issue is not that important. It's not that big a deal for you to push the envelope on certain things. It's you're being able to evaluate, and I like to say, is it a $5 issue or is it a $5,000 issue? Some things are not that big a deal. Sometimes you have to just be like, okay, so I'm going to just let it go. It's not, I don't even need to talk about this. It's not that major of an issue. It's something minor that you can move past. But when you are in the habit of pointing out every little thing, making an issue out of every little
we call
thing,
it a record of wrongs, or building a case against somebody.
Right. That creates a lot of tension in your relationships, and it can lead to you harboring bitterness that then leads to you having unforgiveness, because now you have this whole list of things that this person has done or that they've been doing that you're holding on to. And so then when something else happens, you level that with the weight of all these other things that you've held on to instead of just letting that stuff go. Absolutely.
So number one, we said think about the outcome that you actually want. It's really important for you to get focused on your cooperative goals versus your competitive goals. Number two, we said drop the case, because at this point, keeping a record of wrongs is never healthy.
Right.
This is not you're not a lawyer.
Right.
I have had people that we've coached, babe, that have said, well, I tend to be, an investigator. Let me explain something to you. I don't want to be married to an investigator.
Right.
In other words, what she meant by that was that when she sees things, in her mind, they all point to something. And I'm like, really?
Right.
Because if that's the case and you're in a relationship with a person that always sees a fault or always sees an issue, let me tell you something right now. You look hard enough, you're going to find something.
Right.
And we're all human, and I promise you there's going to be plenty to see.
Right.
But if you are the person that loves building cases, then you're going to be in trouble, and you're not going to be able to move past forgiveness. And number three, I want you, and this is all review. We talked about these 3 things last week. We're going to go into the 4th and 5th thing today. But you cannot listen to your critical inner voice.
That voice that always tells you they never agree with me, or they're always doing something wrong. It's that thing that always you're and this goes back to the whole judging thing. You're judging everything. And everything is negative. Every time somebody does something, there's something negative associated with it. Your husband comes home late, your inner voice is like, oh, he must be having an affair. How about he was working late?
How about his phone really did die?
Right. I mean, but you go to the negative on everything. You have a negative spin about everything, and that's that inner voice inside of you that is honestly based on insecurity.
Come on now.
It comes out of a place of insecurity where you're doubting yourself, and so therefore you're doubting the person that you're in relationship with. Now, if they have, a history of doing things, that's something different. But oftentimes we will start having those thoughts before anything has ever even happened.
Wow. And therefore, there's an argument ensuing that wasn't even really there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Guys, that's hard. That's deep when you think about it, because if you are, hey, Linda Lee, good to see you. Great to see you. Kofia, good to see you. Hey, thanks for chiming in. That's a situation.
Yeah.
Because if you're the kind of person that, you're going to find... I don't know if you guys have ever been in a relationship with a person that just picks arguments.
Yes.
They just going to pick a fight.
About everything.
They want to disagree. They want to have something going on. I'm going to submit that's a real toxic person.
Right.
And you need to look really carefully at how you navigate with that kind of person, because at that particular point, it can become an issue where there was never an issue.
Right. So this is for that person that you're a nitpicker. It's like every little thing, but you associate it with anything. The fact that,
Nitpicker.
You
Put that in the chat. I ain't heard that one in a minute.
If he leaves his underwear in the floor, now it's you just don't appreciate me. It's you don't care about. It's like he just left him on the floor. Why you got to go all the way to that?
Right, and that's personal for you.
Right.
No, that's a real thing. Like that's a real conversation.
Right. We're not talking about that.
We're not talking
about me today.
We're not talking about
We're
you.
not talking about me today.
Hey, y'all see her? Y'all see her slide in a real example of a real situation.
No,
but
that
was you for years.
Right. That because I was extremely OCD when we first got married, and so every little thing. But for me, it was like you don't care about me. You know that this is what, and this is another thing that people would do. Well, you should know what I want, or you should know what I need. People are not mind readers unless you express to them and tell them certain things, because we will judge them based on our own inner thoughts. It's like, well, he should know that I want him to do this, or he should know that I don't like when he does that. But you've never told him that, and so in your mind now you've got this whole play, this whole scene working out in your mind, but you've never communicated to him or her that when you do this is how this makes me feel.
Everything means something else.
So you got this whole script in your mind. It's like, okay, so he left that there, and so that means this.
Right.
That means he's doing this, and that means that. And
it all connects. Because it's all connected.
You don't love me. You don't love me
anymore. And then you go off on a tangent. I just forgot to pick up my drawer. Like, look. Marsha said, pick up your drawers. Like, come on, man. That's just nasty. Spend the rest of today's session talking about points 4 and 5. For those of you guys who just jumped in, we're talking about the 5 things or 5 ways to navigate getting to forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiveness is that secret thing in a relationship, is the secret to a really healthy relationship. And the reason why, Sheri, is because quite frankly, you're going to always have something to forgive somebody on.
Right.
Does that make sense? You're going to always have some. Now, Teresa, why you can't put the toilet seat down?
Oh, Lord Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's going on. Guys, do me a favor, just so that we know that you're there. I just saw something weird happen with YouTube. It looks like we may have lost you. If you're still here and everything else, but just put yes in the chat really quickly. I'm here, yes, keep going, something like that, because I just look like I lost all of y'all's comments or the views on today's channel. So it looks like that we might be stuck. Yeah, I think we are. So if you can still hear us, okay, it looks like you can. I'm not sure. You're rebooting. Got it. Okay, so it looks like that we're back. Awesome. Right. Nikki said, Linda said, yeah, Sheri felt that. Yeah, absolutely, she felt that, Linda. She absolutely did.
Linda knows.
So guys, real quick, we're talking about the 5 things. We're buffering there a little bit. I don't know what's going on with the internet. But we were giving you guys 5 ways to navigate through and to forgiveness. Number 1, we said think about the outcome that you actually want. Number 2, learn how to drop the case. Number 3, don't listen to your critical inner voice, because that critical inner voice will set you up.
Yes.
It'll have you jumping out there on some stuff that really didn't happen,
right,
or it hasn't happened yet. Now it's getting ready to happen.
Right, because you done
nitpicked your way there. If you're ready for number 4, put a number 4 in the chat. Put a number 4 in the chat if you're ready for number 4. Baby, this is funny. Yesterday when we went up the road to Chris and Deirdre's wedding, I realized, when you and I take road trips, we have to get our mind right before we even go on a road trip, because oftentimes we're both thinkers, and so we both have a way to do it or a way to get there.
Right.
And if we're not careful, we won't speak to what it is that's in our minds, and the other one doesn't have a clue as to what you're thinking. So now, if you say, well, why'd you turn that way? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Why did I turn that way? Because And because I have a whole narrative, so I can't turn that way going on. So,
He said none of that. I just asked the question.
Right. And so I often have to back myself down. It's like, calm down, guys.
Right.
Mimi used to say that when she was little. She would say, calm down. We would all be like my granddaughter, our youngest granddaughter. She would be we would be in a room and everybody be loud. You know how y'all at the cookout. That's us too. We'd be loud and everybody be going on, and she'd be like, "Hey guys," and we'd be like, "What?" She says, "Calm down, guys, calm down." So that's
now she in with everybody else.
Yeah, now we have to tell her to calm down, guys.
Right.
So number 4, we got a string of number 4s in the chat. I want you guys to be aware of any fears of intimacy. Beware of any fears of intimacy. And let me tell you what that really means when it comes to forgiveness. The act of forgiving someone in of itself is super intimate because it's going to cost you to become super vulnerable.
Yes.
And whenever you have to step into a place of vulnerability on any level, it is going to, if you're not careful, identify what you are fearful of most.
Right.
So if I'm going to be vulnerable with you and tell you how you hurt me, but I am very fearful of what you will say or what you won't say or if you'll reply or if you'll give me the right response. If that happens, that fear of intimacy will cause me to hang on to something and to walk in unforgiveness because the truth is I have a fear of stepping into the light of vulnerability, and it causes me not to even say what the offense is or deal with the issue.
Right, and I touched on that a little bit early when I talked about, a lot of times people won't deal with issues because of their own insecurities. So if you're insecure in an area, if you don't feel like you can trust your partner with your heart dealing with a certain area, there's a level of intimacy that you guys don't have.
Right.
And you need to improve your intimacy by having those conversations because that causes you to grow closer. But that fear of being vulnerable, that fear of letting them know that you're hurt, that fear of letting them know how you honestly feel about something, for whatever reason, you're fearful that maybe they'll see you as weak, maybe they'll criticize you based on what you're sharing will cause you not to say what it is that you're bothered about. It will cause you not to bring up the issue, and therefore now you're harboring bitterness because now you're holding on to it. Now you're building this internal case against them because you have all these things that he's done this, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this, and you have this whole thing, this whole treasure trove of offenses that you're holding on to.
That sounds
that
expensive.
Causes you now to not be able to move forward.
Absolutely.
And now a wall comes up.
Yep.
Because now you're blocking yourself off because you're protecting yourself because you feel like this person is hurting you intentionally, but you've never told them what it is that they've done, what it is that they're doing that has hurt you or that's bothered you, and now you're just creating you're creating a wall between the two of you because you won't push past your fears to be intimate with them, to open up with them, to let them know what's going on.
As coaches, guys, one of the things that we get to see often when we're coaching couples is this invisible wall that people cannot seem to hurdle because, quite frankly, they will not or they refuse to be vulnerable.
Right.
And, a lot of our work is really centered around getting people to sort of lay down their inhibitions and be able to step into a place where they can really be vulnerable and share and be really emotional connected. I've learned a long time ago that if I cannot emotionally explain to you where I'm at, I can't even possibly begin to move toward asking you to forgive me for something. I can't move towards saying I was wrong.
Right.
I can't move towards saying, what can I do to make that better? I can't do any of those kinds of things because, quite frankly, I'm still clothed in my ego. I'm still clothed in my own self-protection. And that's problematic for relationships, guys. That's super problematic. And so I want you guys to understand, hey, Nicole, it's good to see you. Thanks for jumping in the room. That is going to be something really huge. So I want you guys to be aware of any fears of intimacy. And the last one that we're going to talk about today is something that I think that really hinges on being able to navigate and get to forgiveness, mostly because we either never see it from the beginning or we never speak to it from the very beginning of the relationship. And that is this one. The last one is, don't recreate old family dynamics with your partner. Don't recreate old family dynamics with your partner. Let me say this, guys. There are certain traits, there are certain things that people come to a relationship with that often has been shaped because of their own family dynamic. I'll give you one really quickly. Our family dynamic was that I came from a loud family. And it had nothing to do with us all being flamingos, because many of us weren't. Some of us were lions, some of us were turtles, but when we talked loudly. Some of us were chameleons. My mother's a straight chameleon, but she will jump in there and she will raise the level of conversation, and we're all super passionate about our points. Right. And so when that happens, man, it gets really, really crazy. Well, here's the problem with that. When Sheri met me, she was not loud at all. She was not that person, still not that person. And quite honestly, tone shuts her down. And so if I wasn't careful, if she could say something like, see, I can't ever tell you what I'm feeling because, your tone ain't never right. And that came from your family. That could be her thought process. Do you see what I'm saying, guys? And so if you're not careful, you'll hold the person hostage because of their family dynamic, even when that person is not doing that, if that makes any sense. Right. Or if they are doing that and it's a result of their family dynamic, the truth of the matter is that's just a conversation that needs to be had about how this thing affects me. And that will absolutely jam you up when it comes to forgiving somebody, because now they're being held on the hook for quite frankly, for something that they learned growing up, and they're not even aware that that's the case.
Right. And also, I think the best way, one way to look at this is, so he comes from a family that they're boisterous. And so because I did not come up from that type of environment and I wasn't accustomed to that type of environment, for me, if he had said, well, that's just me and that's the way it's going to be, you're going to have to get over it, you're going to have to deal with my tone, that would have created a problem, because at that point he would not have been considering me. And so there are certain things from your past, from your family dynamic, that may not fit in your new family dynamic.
Wow. With
your new family.
That's good.
And so if you are not willing, number one, you have to communicate that hey, this makes me a little uneasy, or I'm not comfortable with that. Like if you, I'm trying to think of something. So if you are from a family where I can't even.
I got one. Okay. Can I jump in there? So let's say, for instance, you come from a family of alcoholics. Okay. And I don't. Mm-hmm. We go to dinner and I'm drinking I order a glass of wine. Mm-hmm. That's problematic for you, because when you look at that wine, you see alcoholism because of what shaped your dynamic. Right. And so now if you're not careful, you will judge on me the thing that really framed your situation, and you can hold me hostage in an area where he knows that my family are a bunch of alcoholics, and why would you order a glass of wine at the family dinner? Now they gonna get started, and before you know it, you're harboring a bitterness towards me because of your family dynamic makeup. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good example. And so having those conversations and being able to talk about those things is essential. Yeah. And so if you don't, and also it takes you both being considerate of the other person, because if you say that that's just me, yep, you're going to have to deal with that.
Wow.
That's not.
Isn't that the biggest cop out on the planet?
Right. And people do that often. It's like, well, that's my family.
That was me when you met me. That's how we rode.
That's my family. That's just,
like the way it can't be addressed in our scenario.
Right. It can be something, if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, which most of us did, but you're trying to have a functional relationship a healthy functional relationship in your current marriage, you may not be able to be around the dysfunction. Right. But if that person says, well, that's just my family, we're going to just do that anyway,
Ooh, that's
that can
good.
create a problem.
That's good.
That
That's
can
good.
create stress in your relationship versus you both considering, okay, this is our relationship now. This is what we're trying to do. We're not going to, bring that dysfunction into our relationship.
Yeah, no.
But if one person is not willing to, if you don't have a conversation first about what your goals are, where you're trying to go in your relationship, what a healthy relationship looks like for you, you'll allow your past to bleed into your current relationship. And that can create problems because if you're both not on the same page, if one person, something bothers them from your past, and I'm not saying that, you got to cut off your family. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But if there are some things that are unhealthy, that are coming, unhealthy habits, unhealthy behavior, if you don't have the conversation that's unhealthy, that you feel like it's, a disruption to your healthy relationship, it'll bleed into your relationship and it can cause, pain, it can cause hurt, and it can lead to unforgiveness because you've not had the conversation.
No, 100% of the time. I want you guys to think of it this way. Think about it if your behavior is really a reflection of how you want to act or a recreation to something that's been stirred up from your past. So a lot of times, depending on our family dynamics, it will cause us, when Sheri talks about that dysfunction, let's switch it to this. There could be a family dynamic that you have that is commonplace to how you grew up, and that is, let's say, y'all don't talk about stuff.
Right.
Somebody offends somebody, and it's understood in our family, we don't talk about that. You ain't see that. Just don't leave that alone. Don't press the issue. And if you're not careful, the family dynamic which shaped you in that, you'll bring that to your existing situation, and now you're sitting there, you see an offense, you clearly want to speak to it, but in your mind, you're thinking, we don't do that.
Right.
And that's a problem because now you'll hold somebody on the hook for something that, quite frankly, you could move through, but because your family dynamic says, we don't talk about that.
Right.
We don't speak to that. That's judging. You know what I mean? Nowadays, you got this terminology. Well, that's a little judgy. If your family dynamics was that nobody spoke to nothing.
Right.
And everybody just was able to free willy-nilly do their thing, this, that, and the third, but you get married to a person who, quite frankly, came up in a little bit more of a boundaried situation, it's going to be a situation when they do something and you're like, you may ignore it because we don't talk about that, but then secretly you're thinking, that bothers me.
Right.
I don't like that, but I can't speak to that because that would be what? Judging. That'd be a little judgy. I don't know if I can, because I can't, nobody's perfect. And then before you know it, here's what I'm going to promise you guys.
You got all this stuff pent up.
What? And now, here's the other thing. Now you'll begin to deal with that person from that offense. Here's what's dangerous when you hold on to forgiveness. I'm going to talk about this just a little bit. It's not on script. We're talking about 5 things that you need to know and be able to deploy in order to move through and go to forgiveness. Number 1, we said you got to think about the outcome that you actually want. You got to, drop the case.
Number 3, don't listen to your critical inner voice. Number 4, beware of any fears of intimacy. And number 5, don't recreate old family dynamics with your partner.
Guys, I need y'all to understand that the dangerous thing where forgiveness is concerned, Sheri, is that forgiveness will moving through towards forgiveness, if you are a person that holds on to stuff and you cannot move through it, what it will do is not only will it be a cancer in the relationship, but it will be a cancer that will be incurable in you. And so even if the relationship doesn't make it, you will carry that same cancer to the next relationship.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, what people don't recognize is that moving through to forgiveness has everything to do with you dealing with you first. It really, because people are going to offend you.
Right. And when you hold on to things, when you walk in unforgiveness, you're hurting yourself more so. If you can let the offense go, it doesn't mean necessarily that you forget what the person did. But I think, number 1, it starts with communicating what it is that they've done, letting them know. There has to be awareness of what they've done. The person needs to be aware of what they've done so that they know that so that you can move forward. But I think when you're able to let it go, you're not walking around with this weight of unforgiveness, this bitterness that will grow within you. And that's unhealthy. It can affect your physical health, your mental health. Excuse me. And so you have to be able to learn how to let things go and move on. And sometimes moving on looks differently, but you have to be able to move on from that offense so that you're not weighing yourself down, because it weighs you down.
Yep.
Oftentimes we'll be walking in unforgiveness. We're still mad at somebody about something they going on about their life, living their happy,
absolutely,
hope-de-do, like ain't nothing never happened, because they're fine.
Number
one, because we never told them the issue.
Right.
But then even if you did tell them the issue, they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And they move on.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
we still stuck.
Absolutely.
And so you're hurting yourself when you walk in unforgiveness.
I think that one of the things, and we're going to leave off with this, guys. For those of you, Kofi, you're welcome. You're welcome. No worries. Jermaine, I think it was, said thanks for the dialogue, Glenn and Sheri. We appreciate you guys for jumping in. One of the things that I recognize, guys, that if we're not careful, here's what will happen. We will never learn how to apologize properly. And I think that in of itself becomes sort of a stepping stone towards being able to forgive. Because I can hear people in their mind say, okay, so how do I move towards being able to do that? And I think that largely hinges on how you actually apologize. I honestly believe that there are people in relationships who are apologetic. Mm-hmm. It's just not the way that you're apologetic.
Right. It's not the way you need to hear it.
It's not the way you need to hear it. Mm-hmm. You need to receive it. And they've not learned how you need to receive it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, as a result, I never, in Sheri's mind, I may have never said I was sorry. Right. Or I may have never moved towards reconciliation on any level on a particular issue. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, that unforgiveness gets to be harbored in your heart for a long period of time. There are 5 languages, guys. I want y'all to write this down really quickly. We're not going to get into this today. As a matter of fact, we're dealing with this in our MAPS Relationship Academy. If you're not a part of that, we certainly want you to become a part of that community where we're breaking apart these things and we're teaching people what their apology language is. Because this idea of being able to move past forgiveness often hinges on how do you apologize. Mm-hmm. Not do you apologize. Most people have a language of apology that they speak in. And for them, they would argue, but I did apologize. Now, I'm not dealing with the person who never apologizes on no level. I'm not even talking about that. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not dealing with that. But I'm talking about the person who's actually apologetic, but you don't see it that way.
Right.
So really quickly, I'm going to list 5 languages that you guys need to know that are the languages of apology. And all of us have a primary one. And then you have a secondary one, but generally speaking, your apology language isn't the same as someone else's. So number 1, expressing regret is apology language number 1. That's simply, I'm sorry. Put that in the chat. Expressing regret. That's apology number 1. It's a language. It's a whole language.
Right.
It's how I say I'm sorry.
Right. And there are some people that simply, that's all they need to hear is a person say that I'm sorry.
That's it. That's it. That's all it takes.
And they're able to move past it.
As long as you say the words,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That to them is an apology. They good.
Well, I'm thinking about that movie, that show we were watching, where somebody would do something to her. Every time somebody did something to her, and they'd say, I'm sorry, she's like, okay.
Okay.
I mean, literally,
she could drop the matter.
I could hit you in your head
and
then say, oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
She was like, okay, it's okay.
It's okay. I can run over you, hit you with a car.
And if
I'm sorry. It's okay.
It's okay. She would literally move on.
Right.
And keep it moving. As if the thing never happened. It don't matter what the offense was. Right. It was hilarious.
Say with I'm sorry.
What's that on Netflix? I can't remember the name of that.
Show, I can't
think of it. We'll think of it in a little while. But anyway, it was hilarious because that was her form of apologizing. And so when anybody did it to her, she was good. She could take it. Even if the person wasn't truly apologetic.
Right. They
She
said to say, I'm sorry.
That was her language.
It's okay.
Number two, I want y'all to put this in the chat really quickly. So number one, we said that the five languages of apology. Number one is expressing regret. Number two is accepting responsibility. Put that in the chat. Somebody put that in the chat. I appreciate that, Kofi. Thanks for scribing for us. Accepting responsibility. By the way, shout out to the MAPS Masterclass. Kofi is in our MAPS Masterclass, and she's going to be going through with us in Q3. Mm-hmm. So we're super excited. She's doing some amazing things. So we're super excited to add some value to her. But number two is accepting responsibility. Simply, I was wrong.
Right.
That's how.
Right.
That's how they speak apology.
Right. Saying I was wrong and admitting the other part of that is then acknowledging what you did wrong.
Yeah.
Not just saying I was wrong, but taking responsibility, accepting the responsibility that, hey, I did this, and this, and I was wrong for doing that.
Exactly.
And some people, that's what they need to hear.
Yeah,
I don't need to hear you say, I'm sorry.
Anybody ever meet the person who said, right, anybody, there you go, say it again, baby.
Sorry for what?
Right. You know. So for them, if you say, I'm sorry, that don't cut it.
Right.
It's like, that's irrelevant. I know people, Sheri, who say, don't tell me you sorry. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
And I'm thinking, ooh, that might be a little tough. Because what if that's their language of apology? Right. And you're telling them, I don't want you to apologize. That's basically what you're saying.
Right.
So, but for the person who the person who says that though, that is the way they apologize. They don't want to hear I'm sorry. They need you to say something like, no, I was wrong, and hear how I was wrong, and let me just let you know. This, that. I mean,
it's funny now because we recently, discovered ours. And I realized thinking back, even with our kids, when they would do something wrong and they'd be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, sorry for what?
Yep. It would be an automatic thing. We'd be like, what that mean?
Like, I'm sorry. What is it that you're sorry for?
They don't have anything else to say because, quite frankly, it probably wasn't their language of apology. They like, I don't know. I'm sorry for.
I'm sorry for getting caught.
I don't know. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then they break down. I'm sorry. I said I was sorry. And then it's a whole thing because what they're saying is, I'm trying to apologize. Right. But you're not accepting that. Right. I don't know what else you want from me. Right. Anybody ever be in a relationship with somebody and say, well, what do you want from me?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So number one is accepting responsibility, meaning number two. Number one is express regret. Number two is
accepting responsibility.
Right. And number three is making restitution. Mm-mm. This is the what can I do to make it right statement.
That's all I'm going to say.
Sharita,
that's where we are today.
Right, as a nation,
America.
Right? We're not turning this into that today, but everybody know that's the elephant in the room. Hello?
Make restitution.
Ain't nobody said nothing.
DC started.
Right. Okay. She's from DC, so she's feeling pretty proud this morning. I'm not talking to her. Cynthia Brewer said, this is new to me. Never knew that there were apology languages. Yes, ma'am, there are. And you can find out and discover what they are. Kofi said, I never knew this. I'm the I'm sorry person, laugh out loud. And if those words are not said, then at that particular point, Kofi is like, look, you we got a problem.
Right.
Houston, we have a problem. No, this is a real thing. And guys, we're helping to help people unpack this in our MAPS Relationship Academy, and we're going through this. Number 4, really quickly.
Go back to number 3, making restitution. What that can look like in relationships. I'm sorry. So your spouse may do something, and oftentimes it's men that I've heard of situations where men do this. You're not like this because we have the same language. But so he'll do something wrong, then he comes home and he brings you flowers.
Right.
That's he's making restitution. That's him saying, I'm sorry.
Right. Even if you don't like flowers.
Right.
Y'all have to hear that.
He has to do something.
He feels like I got to do something to fix it.
Right.
He'll bring you a gift. There are some people who will never utter the words, I'm sorry, or will never admit that they were wrong.
Right.
They'll just do something.
Right.
They'll buy you something. They'll take you out. They will give you a gift. They will do something nice for you. Mm-hmm. And in your mind, if you're a person that needs to hear the words, you'd be like, you can keep your little stinky gift. Now there's a whole, hey baby, here's here's the iPhone that you always wanted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But have you said I'm sorry? That's $1,000 piece of equipment. And as far as you're concerned, you could give a rip as to what that is. Like, you ain't said I'm sorry, bro.
Right, I don't care.
So I'm gonna need you to say the words.
Right.
Say the words. Say it. Say it. And so that's exactly number 4. We having too much fun. We're unpacking these things throughout the month of June in the MAPS Relationship Academy. Somebody do me a favor. Put the website in the chat, www.glennpbrooksjr.com. And you can go there, sign up for a free assessment. We will absolutely schedule some time with you. And if you want to come into our community, we're going to take you through this process. It'll change the game for you. I promise you, it's going to help you. So number 4, genuinely repenting. Now, unlike the biblical definition of that, here is what I want you guys to hear. There are people that will say these kinds of words. I'll try not to do that again. What they're saying is that they are attempting to go in another direction. In other words, I want to change that about me.
Right.
Or I need you to change that about you.
Right.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So a person whose apology language is genuinely repenting, what they're really looking for is change. Mm-hmm. A change in the behavior. You do not get to not pick me up 3 days a week. It's your job to pick me up from the train, and I come in
every day.
And every day you're late. I need you to change your behavior, sir.
Instead of just saying, my bad.
My bad. I was late. I got off work. If your language is genuinely repentant.
You got one job. One job.
I'm going to need you to do it.
Can you get here on time?
Right. And I need you to change that forever. Because Sheri,
don't do it for a week and then you go back to the old behavior. That
ain't genuinely repenting. Mm-mm. Genuinely repenting means I used to do this and now I don't.
Yes.
Like forever. Mm-hmm. That's hard. There are things where I have come to a conclusion that they're not productive for me. So I used to do that and now I don't do that anymore.
Right.
That's what people who have the apology language of genuinely repenting, that's what they're looking for, y'all. They're looking for you to change.
For the change in the behavior.
And if you don't change the behavior as far as they're concerned,
you ain't sorry.
And that can be problematic if the person doesn't speak that language. And the last one is, and this is the hardest one, I think, on the list in many ways, is requesting forgiveness. Requesting forgiveness. The person that speaks this language, number 5, put that in the chat, number 5, is requesting forgiveness. The person that speaks this language, you know what they're looking for, guys? They're looking for you to say to them, can you please forgive me? That's all they want.
Right, they're asking your permission. They're asking you to grant them clemency.
So really, listen, if I do the way that looks, I do something, I don't take out the trash. Mm-hmm. You ask me to take out the trash. For the 3rd day in a given week, you come home, the house is smelling up, and I didn't take the trash out. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying I'm sorry. And your language is happens to be requesting for forgiveness. Mm-hmm. It is, you need me to say, can you forgive me for not doing that? That's not your language. So stop looking at me like that.
I'm like, I don't need that.
Right. It is. Your I'm sorry looks like, you know what? I apologize. Can you please forgive me? I missed that. But can you forgive me?
Right.
Now, I can say I apologize. I can say I missed it. I can say I won't do that again.
Right.
But you need to hear me say
those words. Right.
Can you forgive?
Right. There are some people that actually need to hear the words.
Right. Absolutely. So number 5 is requesting forgiveness. Let me go back in some of these chats and look at some of what. Wow, I've been missing people's apologies. Listen, Kothia, you are not alone. I'm singing Michael Jackson.
I mean, most people are not aware of this.
Most people are not aware of this, guys.
You just apologize the way that you do. You don't realize that other people speak apology in a different way.
So here's what I want to do. If you have never taken the assessment for this and you'd like to, do me a favor. Drop your email in the chat, right? Drop your email in the chat. and I will send you a free link. Won't cost you a dime, but I'm going to send you the actual link so that you can take the assessment. Okay, it's a free assessment. Don't cost you anything. I just want to email it to you, and then you can maybe next week or whenever you come and we talk. If you come into the MAPS Relationship Academy, fine, no problem. We'll get you up. But if for no other reason, you know what your forgiveness language or what your language of apology is. So if you're that person, Ms. G said, are there steps to changing the behavior they want to stop, but they are not consistent? Yes, there are. And I don't have a bunch of time to unpack that today, but here's what I will promise you. If you are interested, there are ways for you to walk out these things and actually do it. One of the things that we're teaching people this month is how to speak the other person's language. And there are steps that I can take to speak her language. Now, it just so happens that Sheri and I's languages are the exact same. Okay? And so ours are accepting responsibility and making restitution. Both of ours are the same. We didn't know that until a couple of days ago when we took the assessment ourselves.
But we've known it.
But we've kind of known it because we've been speaking like that since we've been married.
We've always been able to apologize in a way that the other person was able to receive it, but we didn't realize that it was a language.
We didn't realize it was an actual thing. And so we kind of stumbled upon it in that regard. But when you do know for a fact that, let's say, if I know that Teresa's apology language is, let's say, expressing regret, and I know that, even though my apology language is not expressing regret, there are steps that I can take to move closer to her and be able to give her what she needs in our relationship. That's my sister. And so at this particular point, if she needs me to say the words, I am sorry, there are steps that I can take to understand how to do that, why it's even important to do that. And actually, to be very honest, it's just most of this, guys, is awareness. Most of this stuff is pure self-awareness. Ms. G, if you are in relationship with a person that is self-aware of who they are and what you need, and it's a healthy relationship, by virtue of being in relationship with you, I am saying I want to add value to you. I want to give you what you need if I can at all do that, right? Well, at that particular point, if I don't know what you need, you'll never get it. And I think that a lot of this, Sheri, is just really getting to the place where we just know I'm self-aware. That's how she speaks. If you go to a foreign country and someone speaks Spanish, but you don't know that they speak Spanish, and somebody just drops you off there, they're telling you what they need, but you can't hear them.
Right.
Because you don't speak their language. And so really, the ultimate goal in relationships is to literally learn how to speak other people's language.
Right. It looks like they're doing something different on YouTube. I know we've been having problems with people putting up links and things like that. And I just saw your message, Kofi. So if you want to get that link to take that assessment, email us at admin@thecrcoach.com and just say apology assessment in your subject, and that way we'll be able to send it to you.
Do me a favor, go on YouTube and on your channel, and then you type it in or type it in here. Hold on, guys. I didn't realize it was. I'll type in our.
I don't know if it's gonna, because it wouldn't let her put.
Well, I'm doing it here. It's gotta let us do it. This is. I hope it does.
But that's what she's saying. It wouldn't let her put her.
She's doing it. But if we do it here, y'all tell me if y'all can see that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not.
There we go. Tell me if you guys can see that. admin@thecrcoach.com.
Can you guys see that email?
Can y'all see that email? Okay, here we go. That's can y'all see that? Let us know. Give us a thumbs up if y'all can see that. Shoot us an email. And at admin, and just say, I want put in the subject language test or whatever the case may be. Can y'all see that? Kofi, can y'all see that? I think it's a lag behind it.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Y'all should be able to see that.
On the screen.
Okay, y'all see that on the screen?
Email us at that email and say you want the apology assessment, and then we'll be able to send you the link to be able to take that assessment.
Yep, it's a free link. It ain't gonna cost you a dime. We just want you to have it so that you can know, because some of y'all jacking y'all's relationships up and you have no clue that the person's been apologizing all this time, but you've not heard them. And so because of that, you don't see it that way. And as a result, as far as you're concerned, there's got to be a penalty to that. There's some hells to pay. So guys, real quick, I appreciate you guys for jumping on. We've been talking about the forgiveness or the secret, to a healthy relationship, which is forgiveness. And I appreciate you guys for really chiming in. Y'all, this is a whole thing. Sheri and I, for those that don't know, we've been married for 21 years in a row. We both were married prior to each other. I was married once for 12 years. Sheri was married twice before me. We both have children from former marriages. We've blended our families over the 21 years in a row that we've been married. And so one of the things I need you guys to understand is that this stuff works. And the way you do it is it helps when you are in community with other people who are doing it. So for those of you guys who want to join up with us, maybe you need community, maybe you need accountability, maybe you need a room of support and people to love you, whether you are in a coupled relationship, meaning married or dating or engaged. Maybe you might be a parent. You may be single and your goal is to become your best self so that you are whole when it comes time for you to get married. It may be that you just want to come in with a group of brothers who understand what it means to be a man and how to traffic through relationship issues. It could be that you are a sister and you just need to hear from your sisters and you need support. We have 5 group coaching platforms that we would love for you guys to come and be a part of. Just go to the website on the page, babe.
www.glennpbrooksjr.com. You want to go get more information on the